what needs to be said and what needs to be heard. Your pain is seen. Your fears are real. You are more powerful than you know. And your courage is contagious. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being who you are, for everything you do and everything you will do. So today, 3 poems, 1 challenge, and 1 promise. I do my objectives different than other people. First poem. It's written actually by a physician, and his name is William Stafford. He calls it The Way It Is. I call it Purpose. The Way It Is by William Stafford. There is a thread you follow. It goes among the things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you're pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you won't get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die. There's microphone feedback. And you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. When I think of this poem, I think of purpose. When I think of purpose, I think of promise. When I think of promise, I think of duty. And I think that duty is most necessary when times are hard. And I don't have to tell you, we are in a hard place in a hard time. We are a deeply compassionate, loving people, but the times now are very hard. But this is our time. This is our time. That phrase keeps going through my head. We are emerging from the worst pandemic in 100 years. We have spent the last few years reeling from the consequences of structural racism being thrust into the mainstream zeitgeist. Our world, our country, our communities are tested in every possible way. In many ways, it became quite clear that our systems are failing, and they're failing some people more than others, and some people at the cost of their lives. We have been physically distanced, we have been locked down, we've been politically polarized, and in that isolation we have seen videos of death and murder. We live in the constant shadow of gun violence in every aspect of our communities. Our children have become a bloody harvest to our insecurities. We have lived in fear. Books are banned. And people use marginalized communities as boogeymen. There are powerful people in this country clinging to power by perpetuating and igniting a maelstrom of ever-increasing hate. We as a country are reaping the whirlwind of a house divided. As teachers of family medicine and physicians who practice family medicine, we should know what we're witnessing. We should understand this discomfort. We are in the hardest part of the labor in the birthing of a new nation. A nation, as Lincoln mentioned, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And of course, any nation so conceived should be crowning in a time of chaos. And as I have often said while teaching young physicians how to deliver babies, They don't need us when it's easy. They need us when it's hard. They need us when it's going to be difficult and uncomfortable and dangerous. And that time is now. This is our time. It's not unprecedented, though. 75 years ago, over 75 years ago, our nation came barreling out of a worldwide calamity. Second World War devastated countries, killed millions upon millions, destroyed economies, and broke the world. At that time, then, the greatest generation, that's what they were called, the greatest generation. They fought that war. Then they built a new America. They made new systems and new structures. In that America that provided opportunity, created wealth, and growth. But not everybody had access to that opportunity, to that wealth, to that growth. And we are feeling the consequences. Greatest generation, on a magnitude never seen before, made huge societal changes. They built the interstate highways. They brought rural America electricity. They made FHA mortgages so that middle-class families could afford to buy homes and pass that wealth on to their children. They made the GI Bill that gave a generation opportunities in education that had never been seen before. They built the infrastructures and laid the foundation of our current internet, and in 1969, they took us to the moon. That was their time. They built those systems out of the chaos and turmoil and violence. This is our time. And yes, this time is hard. This time is hard and nothing will be easy. But this is true. I will put to you that it's time for the next greatest generation. However, it cannot be one single generation. Our task is too much and our time is too short. The next greatest generation is not an age group, it is not a people, it is a necessity of action. It is all of us. Even with all this turmoil and pain, still we have seen kindness, we have seen compassion, we have seen courage like we've never seen before. This is what gives me hope. And rising out of this, we must choose. Will it be hope or will it be fear? Will we pull apart or can we pull together? Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. Our systems are broken. They are unsustainable malignancies, and as they grow, they poison us. Our current systems are designed on false scarcity, concentration of wealth, and the preservation of power by the few. This has given us a healthcare system that now has a decreasing life expectancy, an economic system that extracts and impoverishes both the planet and the people, an educational system that perpetuates inequities in the guise of a meritocracy. Communities where knocking on your neighbor's door can be a death sentence, asking for help can get you shot. A child in this country is more likely to die of gun violence than in a car accident. We are living in these systems. They will break us unless we change them. Second poem. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You're not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. The next greatest generation. Again, we're not going to fix all the world's problems with these same systems that broke it. If you want to change these systems, you must look to correct the inequities. We need to center at the outcomes that help the marginalized and prioritize the marginalized. Because then those with the least can succeed, then we all will rise. There is a path. We can get out of this. And we can do it together. The only way out is through, and the only way through is together. That means not making broken people fit into broken systems. And that means putting resources where they're needed the most. And that means moving forward with a strength from purpose and the courage to have hope. These challenges were made by human action and must be corrected by human action. This can be another greatest generation. This is our time. We can and must do better. I believe in us. I believe in you. What needs to be said, what needs to be heard. Your pain is real. Your fears are real. You are more powerful than you know. And your courage is contagious. So what can we do? We can build systems directed towards abundance, not perpetuating scarcity. Stop looking at who makes it through the broken systems. Guess what? That person will be fine no matter what. Look at who's been left out. Look at who's been left back. Look who didn't make your list. Stop making choices based on who does well. Stop choosing to focus on who survives these dysfunctional systems. It only perpetuates dysfunctional systems. You ask, how do we create a system of abundance while living in a system of scarcity? Well, one of my big heroes, Arthur Ashe, he always said, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Sounds like one of the chairs making a budget. We need to create a new professionalism. And we need to leverage technology to change the way we educate people. And we need to support and advocate for and with each other. For too long, healthcare education, we have only taken people who have been able to demonstrate that they can memorize and regurgitate facts. We have the most expensive healthcare system in the world and some of the worst outcomes. It's time for a change in how we select those who come into our profession. Let's change some inputs and feedbacks. For the new professionalism, I'm going to tell you a story. I was teaching in the hospital, BMC, about a year ago, and we had an episode in which we had a patient that we transferred to another service for a procedure, and that patient died while on that other service. And the residents I was supervising asked for a type of review that I'd never seen before. It wasn't really an M&M. It's not a morbidity and mortality. It's more of a conversation around feelings that had resulted from the challenges of caring for that patient during the time the patient was in the hospital and on our service. I remember as we gathered, attendings and residents and behavioral health person, I remember thinking in my head, this is not like any other patient review I've experienced. My attendings were boomers. I said, this is different. As the people went around the gathering, they discussed their emotions and their concerns and their challenges. They were quite vulnerable with each other and with me. And honestly, it made me very uncomfortable. At the point when it became my turn to speak, I remember making a choice. And that was to express my discomfort accurately and to tap into where that came from. I told a story. Yes, a story within a story. I told a story of when I was an intern in the ICU. That was over 25 years ago. I'm just picturing like all the pagers all over the body. At that time, emotions had no place in professionalism. I remember we had a very prolonged code on a very young patient. The person doing most of the compressions was a young fourth-year medical student. He wanted to match in our internal medicine program, so he was doing a sub-internship. I remember looking at him after the patient was declared dead. And I remember seeing that he was in a very hard place and seeing that he would most likely start crying soon. So I walked up to him, patted him on the back, said, "Hey, I think there's some ice cream in the break room. Come on." He walked with me, we went back to the break room. It was completely empty and we both started crying. I was training where the emotions were hidden. That cycle was perpetuated. I contributed to that. I am done contributing to that. On that day, when those residents at the gathering asked us to examine facts and feelings, I was able to cry in front of them. Most of us did. And we were vulnerable and honest with each other. And we were still good doctors. And we were very uncomfortable. So to me, the new professionalism, the professionalism that's going to help us change these systems, the new professionalism is, if you are not creating discomfort in a dysfunctional system, then you are not being professional. We need to teach each other and ourselves how to respectfully wrestle with these hard changes, these necessary changes. Start where you are. Artificial intelligence, AI, the new tech is here to stay. Let's get involved with these new technologies. Winston here, he would love this. No. Let's get involved with these new technologies. As they are developed, let's find ways that we can leverage them so that we can educate all of those who have the capacity to become excellent physicians. Let's end memorization and regurgitation. Let us build a learning collaboratives that are lifelong. Let us teach towards growth and the mastery of skills and processes. Let us teach towards critical analysis of situations and evidence. Let us teach towards reflective engagement. Let us lead in these necessary changes. Use what you have. Advocating in and out of healthcare is important. We're burnout. All of us are burnout. No one here is not burnout. Some people just answer the quizzes differently. You know who you are. So let's not fight alone. Let's add our voices to the multitudes that are crying out right now. And we might find that advocacy is the kind of feedback that can seriously change systems. Do what you can. This is our time. The next greatest generation is about generating systems that recognize our humanity. Greatest generation is about generating systems that care well for the least of us and creates abundance for most of us, and this will not happen without all of us. This is our time. Now, third poem. then one challenge, and then one promise. Third poem I have to read, because it's pretty new. It's Hymn for the Hurting by Amanda Gorman. She wrote this just after the latest Tennessee massacre. Everything hurts. Our hearts are shadowed and strange, mind made muddled and mute. We carry tragedy, terrifying and true, and yet none of it is new. We knew it as home, as horror, as heritage. Even our children cannot be children, cannot be. Everything hurts. It's a hard time to be alive, and even harder to stay that way. We're burdened to live out these days, while at the same time, we are blessed to outlive these days. The alarm is how we know that we must be altered. That we must differ or die. That we must triumph or try. Thus, while hate cannot be terminated, it can be transformed into a love that lets us live. May we not just grieve, but give. May we not just ache, but act. May our signed right to bear arms never blind our sight from shared harm. May we choose our children over chaos. May another innocent never be lost. Maybe everything hurts, our hearts shadowed and estranged, but only when everything hurts may everything be changed. Now, one challenge and one promise. The challenge: believe, okay? We have to believe. We have to believe that hope is stronger than fear. We have to believe that compassion and caring can exist without compromise. We have to believe that we are the people who can show up and stand up. We have to believe we can make a difference. That is your challenge. That is your challenge. One promise. And that is, I promise you, we can do this. I promise you we can because we must. I believe in you. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm not here to control you. I'm here to love you and let you know that together we can do hard things. Your pain is seen. Your fears are real. You are more powerful than you know. And your courage is contagious. Thank you.